Derby County are on the quest for more points on their travels this season, and that intensifies as they come up against newly promoted Oxford United. Obviously, Oxford United are a fellow newly promoted side, and they have the midfielder in Louie Sibley, who moved on from Derby County this summer. He will face up against his former teammates for the first time since leaving. There's uncertainty around the availability of Ryan Nyambe. How will Derby County set up? Because in this one, the tactical decisions that are going to be made are going to be absolutely crucial in making sure this matchup is exciting and that Derby County secure another point or 3 points on the road. It's obviously going to be a massive game for Derby County. It's going to be really, really important for them to come away with more points. And for me, I think we look into this one and we really want to see another good performance from Derby County, one which we saw at home versus QPR or versus Cardiff City, or back all the way to that game versus Bristol City. And obviously we haven't seen a performance like that on the road yet. Are we going to? I'm not sure. But make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One content, which is heading your way. Hit the like button as well to help push this video to brand new audiences. And make sure you turn on the notification bell. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Shall we get into it? Now, as mentioned, Derby County face up against Oxford, who have some injury worries of their own, to the likes of Cameron Brannigan, Joseph Bennett and Nat Phillips, all players who were in and around their first team. Cameron Brannigan, I believe, is their captain. Very, very important player for Oxford United. And I think when we talk about Oxford United and we talk about the way they played last season, I think they were obviously very, very lucky to get promoted, but they've certainly taken this chance of being in the Championship by the scruff of the neck. They've had an excellent start, similar to Derby County, in fact exactly the same as Derby County, picking up identical points over the course of the start of this campaign. Now if we do look at the recent form of both sides, Oxford United are on a run of 4 back-to-back draws. Their game before that was a 2-1 defeat to Bristol City. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out for Derby County. I've spoken to a few people who have watched a lot of Oxford, and they're a very energetic, young, physical side. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they line up against Derby County. Obviously, 0-0 versus Burnley, 2-2 versus Luton Town, 1-1 versus Pompey, and the 1-1 draw versus West Brom. Now, let's just take a look at that game and look at how they set up. Obviously, in that 4-1-4-1 formation, which is more of a 4-3-3, Goodrum, a really, really good player. El Missouri, a player who I would have liked to have come to Derby County. You look at the players coming off the bench in Louie Sibley, Dane Scarlett scoring off the bench, Malcolm Ebioe, former Derby County players galore. At Oxford United, Ben Nelson, a player who I thought Derby County would sign, did really well in this game, did Oxford. My full Championship review will be out later today, so we won't talk much about that. But you look at Derby County's most recent performances. Millwall, really important to finally get that point on the road. Despite the way that the point came about, I don't necessarily think that Millwall deserved a point, because Derby County took the lead with one of the scrappiest goals I've ever seen through Jerry Yates, but realistically, they didn't really look like opening us up during the game. I thought it was a very bang average game. I thought both teams were very mediocre and sort of cancelled each other out. But they got fortunate with a ricochet and it went straight through. So obviously there is some important players in both sides. Obviously David Ozo could be returning heading into this one. He is back in training. Twanda Chiwa is going to be out for a little bit longer. But the likes of Callum Elder, the likes of who else is back? Callum Elder's back, Liam Thompson's back, Tom Barkhazen's back, Washington's back. Obviously, Corey Blackett-Taylor is also back. Now, if we look at the league table and we look at both of these two sides, Oxford United in 11th, 3 wins, 4 draws, 3 defeats, 14 goals, 12 conceded, 13 points. Then you look at Derby County, it's 10 games, 4 wins, 1 draw, 5 defeats, 13 goals, 13 conceded, and 13 points. I think that's a really good return for the newly promoted side. If they were to continue like that for the rest of the season, they'd both end on 59 points, which in my opinion, 9 points clear of the drop zone. Massive, massive opportunity, especially when you look at Portsmouth, the fellow promoted team as well. They're not quite in the same argument at the moment. They're quite a ways away, actually. I think it's about 5 points that they're behind. And this is going to be a massive one for Derby County. And after the injury to Ryan Nyambe, which it looks as if he's going to have a scan on it, which I think automatically rules him out of this game. Don't think he'll train on Monday, and I don't think he'll probably even travel to Oxford. So for me, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Derby County line up. I've got two lineups which I'm thinking about. I'm waiting to hear Paul Warne's press conference to give a proper thought through of this team. Now, let's get into team number one, which is a 3-5-2 system. I think this is probably the best bet for Derby County if they're without Ryan Nyambe. And you could swap Craig Forsyth for a Ben Osborne or a Callum Elder. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One content heading your way across the course of this season. Make sure you hit the like button as well to help push this video to brand new audiences. Make sure you leave a comment as well. I try and respond to every single one, so I'll see you down there in the comment section. Elder, obviously those opportunities are there as well. Now, for me, this team in a 3-4-3, is Jakub Zetterstrom in goal, a back three of Nelson on the right, Phillips through the middle, and Cashin on the left, with a midfield four of Forsyth on the right, Forsyth on the left, Wilson on the left, midfield two of Adams and Kenzo, and a front three of Blackett, Taylor, Yates, and Mendez-Lang. Now, I thought Blackett Taylor was the best player for Derby County on Saturday versus Millwall. I think he's got a long way to go in making himself a first-team regular, but I think he did enough to keep his shirt. I think Mendez-Lang will come back in. I think Caden Jackson needs a little bit of a rest, and obviously, as spoken about, I think you could swap and change Craig Forsyth for a Callum Elder or a Ben Osborne. Obviously, Osborne played out there versus, was it Sunderland? I think it was. Obviously, you then have Callum Elder, who I believe is back fit now. So that is an opportunity as well. Obviously, you also have the potential of David Ozo coming into this midfield, whether that be for Adams or for Kenzo. There is that opportunity. You can also play this system in a 3-5-2 where you'd have maybe Kenzo through the middle and play both Ibu and Ozo, should Ozo be fit, and then have a front two of James Collins and Yates, or Mendez-Lang and Yates, or even Caden Jackson. Obviously, Blackett Taylor could play there as well, Dejan Brown, and you move it into like a 3-4-3 or sort of situation. And it's one of those for me where I think the 3-5-2 doesn't really suit what we've got, which is why I went with that 3-4-3 formation, and it's one of those for me. I think if Nyambe is out and it's as bad as we think it is, obviously came off after 36-37 minutes, then I do think this is what the lineup will look like. But if Paul Warne wants to go for it and wants to go and pick up all 3 points, this is the team I'd go for. And it's a back four. It's a 4-2-3-1 like we've been playing recently anyway. Zetterstrom in goal, a back four of Forsyth, Cashin, Nelson and Wilson, a midfield three of Kenzo, Adams and Harness, and a front three of Blackett Taylor on the left, Yates through the middle and Mendez-Lang on the right. Obviously, there's a big discussion to be had with this one, because obviously if Ozo's fit, you could potentially drop one of these midfielders. You could swap them around and bring Ozo in there. You could take Adams out and keep Harness in, and all of these things can be spoken about. You could obviously also see Derby go to a potentially a 4-4-2 away from home, which keeps Mendez-Lang and Blackett Taylor in the team. You probably play with Adams and Ozo, and then you potentially go with James Collins and Jerry Yates up front. I also think there's got to be a conversation around Forsyth. I'm not sure if he'll be able to play 3 games in a week, and obviously you've had the Millwall game, you've got Oxford, and then you've got Hull City, and I do think either Elder or Osborne will play in midweek. I'm not entirely sure who, but I just get the feeling that I think it'll either be Forsyth will play midweek and Ozzy or Elder will play at the weekend, or the other way around. For me, I think there's lots of opportunities for this, in my opinion. I do think the 3-4-3 is the 4-2-3-1 is the most expected if we stick with the way we've played across the season, and I do think it's one of those where we could see a massive I think we could see a bunch of changes. Obviously, we've got to make one change if Nyambe's not fit. If Nyambe's fit, he has to play for me. Best right back at the club, in my opinion. Obviously, offers a little bit less going forward than a Kane Wilson or a Joe Ward. But obviously, if you just go back to that 3-4-3, you can obviously bring in Joe Ward on this right-hand side and potentially push Kane Wilson further forward, which is a really good opportunity for Kane Wilson. So there's plenty of opportunities for me with how Derby could line up heading into this one. I think the big talking point for many Derby County fans will be that of the return of Louie Sibley. Where are you, Louie Sibley? The return of Louie Sibley, who obviously spent a lot of his time for Paul Warne playing at left wing back and left back, and for me is not that player. He's played 4 matches in the Championship, scoring once, 66 minutes played. He might be regretting the decision to move on. And obviously, you look, the last time he played in 90 minutes was versus Coventry in the Cup, where he played a 6.2 average rating. Disappointing for him. You obviously go back to last season, he played 44 games, 38 in the league. He probably wouldn't be a starter for us now, but he certainly would have been in and around the team. Now, obviously, there's still a lot to talk about with Derby County going forwards, and that's something which the lineup is the big discussion. You obviously talk about some youth academy players. You look at Dejon Brown. When's he going to get an opportunity? You look at Charles Abuka, scored, was it 4 goals this weekend versus Leeds United in a really, really important win for the under-18s, who are absolutely flying. Now, he's going to get opportunities at under-21s level, and he might not shine straight away. I believe he's 16, 17 years old, so there's a long way in his development to go. And it's just one of those for me where Derby County really need to start utilising their youth academy across the course of this season. I think we've got opportunities to do that, and obviously we've had those injured players return. Liam Thompson's back, Barkay's and Elder, obviously Washington's back as well. You look at Jake Rooney, he's back in the fold, and it is going to be interesting to see how this whole situation is going to be handled. It's going to be massive for Derby County to see if they can get another point on the board, or maybe even 3 versus Oxford. Let me know your score predictions down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, make sure you smash that like button to stay tuned and push this video to brand new audiences. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video.